Aloha and welcome to Action Island. I am Gilles Gallant. I am joined by Nick Giffen, Kyle Murray, and Sean Kerner. We're here to kick off week 11 in the NFL with the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. As usual, we are here to build a same game parlay for this matchup. It's going to be a four-leg same game parlay. It's going to be one pick from each of us. So here's what we do. The four of us, we give our two favorite bets for tonight's game. Then we're going to vote on those picks. We'll decide which pick is going to stay as a parlay leg and which one will be kicked off the island. And by the end of the show, we should have a nice four-leg same game parlay for you for Thursday Night Football. But as usual, as we give out these picks, we're going to be dropping links in the YouTube chat. They're quick slip links that'll take you directly to the sports book where you're able to tail these bets and make sure you get the best lines and the best odds, because some of these picks, the odds will move as they give it out, and especially from a Sean Kerner perspective. So let's start with Kyle. Kyle, you have two picks that you like, and what do you got for the first one?
Yeah, it should be a pretty good game here between the Patriots and the Jets, as all are expecting. I'm going to Trayvon Henderson with my first pick over 16 and a half receiving yards. We finally saw Henderson get a good amount of work last week, and he had a breakout game over 145 rushing yards. Obviously, he had those two long touchdowns. Explosive player. I think we've all been expecting that. So it's good to see him actually get some volume. This is a fairly low number according to some projections that we have in the RG model, projecting him for over 20 receiving yards. But bottom line, I think he could be in line for more work here as a true three down back due to some of these injuries. Obviously, Ramondre Stevenson is going to remain out. Terrell Jennings questionable for this game. And I think with that breakout performance last week, he's just earned more time on the field. And despite having just one catch last week, he did run 26 routes. So even though he wasn't super involved in the passing game, he's going to be out there running routes. And I think we should see some more designed pass plays from him because he is so explosive out of the backfield as a receiver as well. Averaging 13 and a half receiving yards per game this season on a fraction of the playing time compared to what we saw last week, which we should be expecting again, a similar playing time this week. Already has three catches of 13 plus yards this season and has had one catch of at least 8 yards in six of his 10 games. So obviously he can pay this off in just one or two catches. A screenplay for 16, 17 yards can go a long way for him here. And gun to my head, Mike Vrabel was actually came out on the podium, said that he was expecting to give Trayvon Henderson a big load this week. So expecting a lot more work for Henderson out of the backfield as well.
Oh boy, Kyle, you almost made it. I thought you weren't going to cave to the peer
Yeah.
pressure of using the coach speak on that. And well, that's okay. I think it still works. I think the rest of it is still good too.
Yeah.
Not sure if I would use that final point as the reason why I would make that bet, but at the same time, still a lot of good data that you presented out there for Travion Henderson, over 16 and a half receiving yards in tonight's matchup. What's the second pick?
Yeah, I like to use a good mix of, data and sometimes narrative angles for most of my plays, but for this one, there's no data, absolutely no data to back up the AD Mitchell touchdown play here, other than, what we've seen from him on some underlying metrics, but obviously newly acquired by the Jets here. I actually gave this pick out last week on the 5-and-5 video, and he was inactive for that week, but I liked him even alongside Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's going to be absent for this game, so I think there's a real chance that he steps into a fairly sizable role had the week, the extra few days, although this is a short week on Thursday Night Football. A few extra days can go a long way in terms of learning the playbook. And we could easily see him have a designed, a nice, fun designed play down near the red zone. But bottom line, I don't expect a ton of sustained drives here for this Jets offense. So I do think that if they're going to score, it's going to come on an explosive play like we saw last week. They had two special teams kick return touchdowns, a punt return touchdown, and the Brees Hall 40-yard receiving touchdown. That's how the Jets are more than likely going to get their points. And that kind of, has AD Mitchell music written all over it. I think if someone's going to make a big play out amongst these receivers, AD Mitchell's probably the likely candidate in my eyes. So at, nine plus 950, 9.5 to 1, I'll take that all day, especially for considering I think he could be the wide receiver one or two in terms of, downfield playmaking in this offense.
Yeah, I had to double check that. While you were speaking, I was like, okay, I have to go look at Mitchell's odds here. Plus
Yeah.
950 to score in this matchup. It looks like it could be a good spot for him as well, given the injuries up top with Garrett Wilson. All right, so Sean, Nick, we got to take a vote. Are we going to take AD Mitchell to get a touchdown, or are we going to take Travion Henderson to have at least 17 and receiving yards? So let's take a vote. All right. I got a pretty good idea. I think Sean will probably vote for AD Mitchell, just given how vocal he's been about Mitchell over the years. But I'm not sure which way Nick is going here. I went with Trey and the Hendersons. We could put a little 80s movie reference here. What did we see? AD. Okay, so AD Mitchell,
TD
anytime
Mitchell.
touchdown.
TD. TD Mitchell.
TD
I
Mitchell.
wrote TD Mitchell.
My
New
these
initial drop.
sunglasses. Yeah, my reading ability with these sunglasses suffers each week, I think, every time. So the notes sometimes I kind of skip over that. All right, so AD Mitchell, anytime touchdown, seeing it right now at plus 950. If you just want to tail even that bet, we've dropped a quick slip link in the YouTube chat. But right now, that is going to be the first leg of this same game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Now it is Sean's turn. Sean, you have two picks and both on the Jet side. What's the first one?
Yeah, the first one's Brees Hall over 55.5 rushing yards. This one's interesting because 80% of the action has been on his under. One of the most bet props to his under. Usually, I'm taking an under on a guy that's like 99% over a future Hall of Famer like Jahmyr Gibbs, and I have to go, trust me, I know he's good. I just think this number is too high. I don't know what people are thinking here. Does everybody know that or realize that Brees Hall is actually good at football, especially running the ball? So I'll gladly take the over here. Last week he ran for 83 yards against a very good Browns run defense, and I think he could add more. If they didn't return two kick returns for a touchdown, that wipes out an entire drive. And he also had a 40 plus yard receiving touchdown where he could have chipped in a couple more carries on that drive. He could have had a 100-yard game against the Browns. So I don't know why people are fading him here. Maybe because they expect, the Patriots to blow him out. But the Jets are a luck ranked side. So this might correlate if we do end up going with the Jets here for Brees Hall to see, extra carries, more carries than the market expects. So Brees Hall good, me take over with him. Next pick.
Okay.
I'm all in with Kyle on 80 Mitchell and his upside here. Not going to take his receiving yard prop because he's not really a guy you want to bet on his median, especially with Justin Fields throwing the ball. So I'm going to take him to record a 20 plus yard reception. And you can get at plus 350 right now. I think that's the best way to invest in him along, with his touchdown odds. But, he was part of the Sauce Gardner trade. They sent the star cornerback to the Colts. So AD Mitchell was inactive last week, but I fully expect him to be active here and, for them to use him heavily the rest of the season. They kind of need to see what they have in him and let him develop a bit because he was a second round pick last year for a reason. He's very talented, has a ton of upside, but he's just a raw pass catcher, route runner. He's made some mistakes in his days with the Colts, so they just need to get him some reps out there in a lost season, and get him going for next year. And his claim to fame this year is that he foolishly dropped the ball right before scoring a 75-yard touchdown, but people overlook the fact that he nearly scored a 75-yard touchdown. If you watch that play, he makes an amazing catch downfield, like 30, 40 yards downfield, with the Rams cornerback draped all over him. After catching the ball, he does a sick spin move to escape not one but two defenders to rack up another 40 yards after the catch. So it was almost an amazing touchdown. So, it was that close to being a, score. So I think he has a ton of upside. I love taking this prop here. And also, I think you could take Justin Fields under a half passing touchdown and AD Mitchell to score because there's a chance in the second half if they're trailing, Tyrod comes in and starts slinging it to AD Mitchell. So I think there's a lot of fun, unique routes. So he's kind of investing his upside tonight.
All right, Sean, before we vote, sliding doors moment. Do you think AD Mitchell is still on the Colts if he doesn't drop that touchdown?
Um, No, he's so buried on the depth chart, and I think they drafted him not that they didn't believe in Alec Pierce, but he has a similar skill set. Just with Alec Pierce being so good, they just felt he was expendable, and they got Sauce Gardner out of it. So I think they had to make this move. But I think they know how much talent he has, and just being in a different situation could help him. But I think he was pretty much doomed even before that.
Yeah, and he got banished to the Jets now. So hopefully we could see him have a really big game, first game with the Jets since he was inactive last week. But Nick, Kyle, we're going to take a vote. Are we going to take Brees Hall over 55.5 rushing yards, or are we going to take AD Mitchell to get a 20 or longer yard reception at plus 350? So let's take a vote. All right. Well, we already got the AD Mitchell touchdown as part of the parlay. So I went with Brees's paces. What did you guys do? Brees. All right. So clean sweep. Brees Hall, over 55.5 rushing yards. That'll be the second leg of the parlay. So that's going to be paired with AD Mitchell touchdown. So that's the first two legs of the parlay. Now, before we get to Nick, first up, if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, make sure to sign up for an annual subscription to Action Pro. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Kerner and all the members of the Action Analytics team, along with those anytime touchdown projections. You also get access to our best spread, money line, and total bets, along with real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code Island20 at sign up. That's Island20 at sign up for $20 off. All right, Sean, you kind of alluded to it that this might be a luck rankings game. So I am going to give the creator of the luck rankings, Dr. Nick Giffen, tell us, are you taking the luck rankings side tonight?
Well, yes, just kind of because you have to, almost based off the trend. So first pick is Jets to cover plus 13. Try to get the 13 if you can. It's kind of like a super secondary key number. You see some 23-10s, some 27-14 type scores. So definitely prefer that over 12.5. And the luck score in this game is a 2.18, almost a 2.2, which is almost an A grade. Instead, it's a very high B grade, 59.2% luck-based cover percentage. And I'm just going to spit out the trends here. B grades, 43, 28, and 2 against the spread for the unlucky team. That's 60.6%. If you remove the weeks 5 through 7 dead zone, it improves to 41, 22, and 2 against the spread. That's 65%. If they are a road team, now we're including the dead zone again, but B-graded road teams, 23, 10, and 2 ATS, which is almost 70%. And if you remove the dead zone from the B-graded road teams, that jumps to 23, 8, and 2, 74.2% against the spread. Also, it seems like we take the Jets almost every week. They've played 9 games so far this year. 6 of them, they have been a luck side, and they're 4-2 against the spread in those 6 games, including 2-0 against the spread when they're the road team. So it's stinky. It's no fun, but somebody's got to do it. The luck trends say so. So Jets plus 13. And I honestly don't really think we need to worry about the quarterback. I mean, if the Jets get down big, Tyrod will come in and he's Ty God in terms of covering. He covered, against Tampa Bay there. And, I think they'll be able to at least move the ball through the air if Tyrod's in for the second half there.
I want to say at least probably 4 of those 6 games that they've been on the luck rankings, they've been featured on Action Playbook Live, and you've given them out, and they've been covering. So I really like this spot, even though it sounds like when you initially kind of introduced it, you weren't feeling it like maybe you're going to ride with the luck rankings, but maybe is it just as simple as the Jets? Just you don't feel great about it?
It's just not fun backing a quarterback that can barely throw for 55 yards in a game, but I mean, they covered last week as the unlucky team and the week before or whatever as the unlucky team. So kind of just have to roll with it.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, right now, even I think we talked about it before coming on that, like Justin Fields over under passing yards line is like somewhere like 120 or lower or something like that. So
Yeah.
Not encouraging, but either way, I still like it here at plus 13. What is the second pick you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the other side of the ball here. I'm going to take Patriots quarterback Drake Maye to go over 24.5 rushing yards. You might be like, why are we doing this when the Patriots are favored by 13 points, taking a quarterback to go over his rushing yards? But the Jets allow the 3rd highest quarterback adjusted scramble rate in the NFL. And that's despite them not getting any pressure. They're kind of a low pressure defense. So they allow quarterbacks to scramble almost 2.5% more than their normal scramble rate. And that's on absolute value, not relative value. On relative value, they almost allow quarterbacks to scramble at double their normal rate. So that's already a good thing. And Drake Maye, he doesn't need pressure to scramble. We talked about how the Jets don't get pressure. Well, Drake Maye has the 4th highest scramble rate with a clean pocket among all qualified quarterbacks. So he certainly doesn't need pressure to scramble. And let's look at the Jets coverage, right? They play, I should say last week, they played more cover 2 man than they have all year. Last week, which was of course that first week without Sauce Gardner. And that is the best coverage to face when you want to scramble or for quarterbacks to scramble, because you've got 2 high safeties, so 1 less man in the box, but they're still playing man coverage with the rest of the defensive backs, which means their backs will be turned and the quarterback can go scramble. So Dylan Gabriel last week had 5 scrambles for 54 yards, and he also had a scramble called back on a penalty. That's 50% of Gabriel's scrambles all season came in that one game last week against the Jets. And the Jets rarely play cover 3, which is the worst coverage to scramble on, an extra man on the box and zone coverage there. The Jets allow the highest yards per carry in the NFL on QB scrambles, 10.4 yards per carry. So Drake Maye could clear this in just 2 or 3 scrambles. And I mean, Drake Maye has been a scramble machine with over 40 scrambles this year. The Jets allow 25.3 scramble yards per game. And that's despite facing 3, Sean Kerner quote here, Mall Santas in Aaron Rodgers, Tua Tagovailoa, and Joe Flacco, who have combined for just 17 scrambles in 27 starts. And if you remove the Mall Santa games, the Jets are allowing about 35 scramble yards per game. And now we have one of the highest scrambling quarterbacks in the league. And then, if the Jets do cover, that would keep the Patriots a little bit more honest. They may need to drop back a little bit more, which would increase the scramble chances as well for Drake Maye. And since the luck rankings like the Jet to cover, that could just be an added point there.
All right. So, Sean, Kyle, we got to take a vote here. Are we going to take the luck side, which is Jets plus 13, or are we going to take Drake Maye over 24.5 rushing yards? So let's take a vote. All right, Kyle, Sean, you know me, I'm luck rankings for life. Like I'm gonna be voting for the luck. What do we got? Jets.
Yeah,
Jets.
same,
Okay.
but
So
I mean, the Mall Santa narrative almost got me, but I'm sticking with
I
the Jets.
I agree. And that was the one thing where I was like, this is a tougher choice. It's just the thing is whenever it's a 50-50 for me and luck rankings is involved,
Yeah.
I'm just that always is the tiebreaker for me. So, all right, I've got 2 touchdown props I like, one on each side. We'll round out this parlay. So, Jets plus 13 plus the Brees Hall over 55.5 rushing yards along with 80 Mitchell touchdowns. So very Jets centric so far. But now, 2 touchdown bets that I like. First one on the Jets side. I like Mason Taylor. He's around plus 300 at Bet365, coming off a bit of a dud versus the Browns. I think he could be in a nice little rebound spot because I do expect him to be getting a lot more targets, especially with Garrett Wilson out. In 2 games that Wilson missed, Taylor had 13 targets. He caught his first touchdown. The Pats, they've only allowed 4 touchdowns to tight ends this year, but they are a bit of a pass funnel. They're bottom 5 in targets, catches, and yards to the position. So I like Taylor to get a little bit more involved here, maybe get an end zone touchdown here around 3-1. On the Patriots side, Pop Douglas. I mean, I tracked him yesterday in the Action Network app around plus 475. I'm seeing him right now around plus 420, I think, at FanDuel right now. But either way, 3 touchdowns this year. Jets pass defense, 17 touchdowns allowed, play a ton of man coverage. They still played a lot of man coverage last week, despite Sauce being traded. But Douglas, he leads the Patriots in yards per route run versus man, second in targets per route run. And I just think that the Jets are going to have trouble defending wideouts, especially against the deep ball, especially with Drake Maye throwing the deep ball so well. So I like Pop Douglas to catch a deep ball touchdown on this defense, especially at anything over 4-1. So those are the 2 touchdown props that I like, guys, to round out this parlay. So it's up to you guys. Are we going to vote for Mason Taylor for an anytime touchdown or Demario Douglas for an anytime touchdown? Let's take a vote. All right, guys, are we going with another Jet touchdown or are we going to put on a Patriots touchdown to round this parlay out? What are we doing? Pop Douglas. Pop Douglas, clean sweep. All right, so that is the parlay now. Let's go over this. All right, so we have Adonai Mitchell, anytime touchdown. We have Brees Hall over on his rushing yards prop. We have it at 55.5. We have Jets against the spread, so plus 13, along with a Pop Douglas anytime touchdown. Looking at this right now, guys, 131-1 at FanDuel or 110 at DraftKings. However, I will say if you are going to place this at Bet365, I wouldn't right now. It's around 65-1, nearly half the value of what you can get at either FanDuel or DraftKings. So even if you have FOMO a little bit on wanting to tail this parlay, you're giving up a ton of value if you want to go that route. So stick to those 2 if you are liking this parlay. We just dropped a quick slip link in the YouTube chat if you want to tail this. All right, before we get out of here, Sean, what do you think of this parlay? 80 Mitchell, Pop Douglas, Brees Hall, Jets against the spread. How are we feeling about this one?
Love it. I love the payout. Obviously, the kicker here is 80 Mitchell has to score. But like getting a triple when you're going for a cycle in baseball, let's get that out of the way first. Let's get a long 80 Mitchell touchdown on the opening drive. Ideally, a jet sweep for my idiotic parlay here. Then the Jets are playing with the lead. Brees Hall's running the ball. And then, Pop Douglas is going to be more involved and score his touchdown. So I love it.
And I love these parlays, but I feel like there's also these like tertiary parlays that we like too. Like we like Justin Fields under on his passing touchdowns, but 80 Mitchell to score a touchdown, or like all these different variations, right? So I think this game it offers some pretty fun value if you're looking for some interesting type of parlays here. But either way, this parlay today, 130 to 1 at FanDuel. We're going to track that in the Parlay Express account in the Action Network app. So that is all for us. I want to thank you for watching Action Island for Thursday Night Football. We'll be back here on the island next week. And on behalf of Nick Giffen, Kyle Murray, and Sean Kerner, aloha and bon chance.